So we've done earth and we've done air. And when Matt first told me about Ruach, which at the time wasn't called Ruach, although the Spirit was in it, I think more than any of us knew it was going to be, because I think everybody here has had words to the effect of, didn't really know what I was getting into, but here we are. What an avalanche of the Spirit, just getting bulldozed by the Spirit, which I'm here for. It's awesome. Matt told me I was doing water. I was not given the option. I didn't get to pick.
None of us got a choice, brother. We just all got told.
Yeah. I've always had a problem with authority. I don't like being told, voluntold. You will do this. Or what? Or what, Bo? What if I don't do it? So, I was given water. And so, I want to give you some attributes of water. Water is both persistent and consistent. Now here, this area, average rainfall is 14 inches of rain a year, plus or minus. That's the average May where I am from. We get a lot of water, somewhere between 50 and 60 inches a year. But there'll always be more water. It's coming. To Jake's point, like the flood's coming. Water takes and it gives. I think we're all familiar with the Grand Canyon. That's erosion, right? There's also the Mississippi Delta, where it makes deposits. A key attribute of water is all about balance. Anybody here ever use a level, a spirit level, finds its own balance? A real quick way in engineering to find level is dig a trench, fill it with water. That surface, that's level. Water finds its own level. When I was in power construction, I did the longest horizontal directional bore in the history of the world at the time, which was 1,570 feet of 42-inch metal casing. And we filled it full of pipe. So we have a metal casing on the outside made of steel, 1-inch wall steel. Then on the inside we had 9 8-inch, called HDPE, high density polyethylene plastic pipes inside of there. And we had to fill the air in between because air is an insulator. So there's an attribute of air. We had to fill the airspace with thermal grout, which is about you ever get a Frosty from Wendy's? You ever let it sit in your cup holder for too long and it gets all nasty? Yeah. That's thermal grout, okay? And once you start, you can't stop. Pressure is involved. So in order to gauge the differential pressure on the pipe versus the casing, we took clear tubing, hooked it up to a valve on the end of the casing, and filled it with water. Made a little U in it. And as the casing would compress from differential pressure, it would push the water out. And that we'd have an indicator that something's going on with pressure. We ran out of water and ended up peeing in the tubes quite a bit, but whatever. So water finds its own level. Water is all about balance. Water is life and death. Too much of it and you will die. Not enough of it, you will die. Water cleanses the body and the soul. It's biblically one of two ways that we clean. The other is fire. Water preserves the thing that it cleans. Fire destroys the thing that it cleans. There's huge biblical overtones to that. You can get water now so you don't get fire later. Water rises under pressure. It's like a spring. You ever seen an artesian well? You know what that is? It's where there's a pocket of water, say like up on the side of that mountain there's a pocket of water, and it finds its way underground to an outlet and comes out under pressure. I've got 2 of them on my property, and they're awesome. One of them, there's a big rock with a cedar tree growing through it. The rock's split in half and water runs out of it. Like Moses, speak to the rock, don't strike it. Water under pressure can bring forth life. Fountain, garden. It can prevent death, intravenous fluids, fire hoses, and water under pressure can be put to useful work. You ever seen a water wheel? You ever seen how they cut giant slabs of marble? Water. It's all water. And water can be bitter, sweet, or salty, depending on how you approach it. Sweet water in the Bible is always indicative of the appropriate heart posture towards the Father. It's always gratitude. Bitter waters, called Mara, it's when everybody's bitching and complaining that the waters go bitter. And so how we interact with water and experience water is a reflection. Water reflects. Water is a reflection of what our internal heart condition is. Matt brought up change tears. Salty water. Yep. Water cleans. Okay. So in Hebrew, the word for water is ma'im. And it's a mem, a yod, and a mem. A mem is like our English letter M. A yod is like our English letter Y. The mem in ma'im literally means water as well. So it's water and then yod, which is work, and then water. So the 2 mems indicate the intricacies of water. And in Hebrew, water is always plural. Always. You don't have a lake. You don't have a bottle of water. There is no singular water. And the indication there is that water is complex. There's always more to water. There's depth to water. The yod is indicative of work. Water cleans, right? It's a lot of damn work with water, but work is right in the middle of the word water. You don't get water without work, and the water doesn't work if you don't work. And that's all that's implied simply in the Hebrew word for water, ma'im. The mem in water is the 13th letter of the alphabet, Hebrew alphabet, which has a numerical value of 40. For those that don't know, you know Roman numerals? Like the letter X means 10? Well, in Hebrew, all the letters have numerical value as well. The numerical value of mem, water, ma'im, is 40. In biblical numerics, 40 is always a number of transformation. 40 days it rained for Noah. 40 days Messiah was in the wilderness. 40 years the Israelites walked in the wilderness. 40 days Messiah was on earth teaching after the death, burial, and resurrection. 40 always means transformation. So mem, ma'im, water, the work of water is transformative. Oh, there's levels to this game, bro. It just goes and goes and goes. So there was an old Greek guy, Stoics. You guys familiar with the Stoics? Heraclitus, or Heraclitus if you don't want to sound like you're, yeah. And so he was the guy who said a man cannot step into the same river twice because it is not the same river and he is not the same man. So that's the concept of transformation with water. I was talking to Chris last night. She was talking about the property lines where they hit the water. The property line goes to the center of the water. but the center of the water doesn't stay in the same place because it's always moving, right? Water comes up, water goes down, and we will not be tomorrow the same people that we are today. So the river's constantly changing, you're constantly changing, I'm constantly changing. It kind of goes back to the momentary nature of what we've got going on here. And don't take shit for granted. Because what's the likelihood that we're, fast forward 365 days, and we're all right back here? We're not. Zero. So, interpretation of water. Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth, right? And the earth was formless and void. And the Spirit of God came to rest upon the waters. Mem, work, transformation. And then he separated the lower waters and the upper waters with what? Anybody know? Air. That's right. He put the Ruach, the air, the breath of life, the Spirit, in between the lower waters and the upper waters. And so we don't navigate from the earthly work to the heavenly work without passing through the Ruach, the Spirit. We don't make water. Every ounce of water you've ever consumed came from somewhere else. Every ounce of piss you've ever produced came from somewhere else. We don't make water. It's not ours. We just borrow it. If you borrow too much of it, you die. If you don't borrow enough of it, you die. It's not yours. It's not mine. It just is. It's a gift from Dad, and it will preserve our lives if we interact with it, intersect with it appropriately. If we disrespect it, it will kill us. The very same thing that gives us life, if we disrespect it, don't take it seriously, it'll kill us. We don't make the physical world. We only interact with it. We have dominion over it. We can refine it. I can take a tree and turn it into firewood or lumber or build a shelter with it. I can take a rock and nap it into an arrowhead or an ashtray or put it in Jake's pocket for Shannon to take home. But I didn't make the rock. I didn't make the water. I didn't make the tree. They're just provided to us. How we interact with it is a reflection of how we interact with the Most High. Do we respect what He's given us and the opportunity to do this and make use of this in a way that brings Him glory? Or does my dominion look like subjugation? I really like bulldozers, me personally. I love heavy equipment. It would be a tragedy for me to bring a bulldozer here, wouldn't it? So just because you're good at bulldozing doesn't mean everything's got to get bulldozed. How we solve problem A isn't necessarily how we need to solve problem B. Okay? Biblically, withholding water is a judgment from the Father. If you read the word 87 times, there's this triune curse that comes upon people. And it's war, famine, and plague. 87 times from Genesis to Revelation. It's the same three things: war, famine, plague. And it always starts with the Father's people. Not anybody else. The Father's people being disobedient, being disrespectful. And then He withholds the rain. JW probably understands this. You live in an arid climate, no rain, things die, right? Governor needed water so that he didn't die, right? When there's no rain, there's no agriculture. When there's no agriculture there's no food. When there's no food, people begin to compete for limited resources. And so they go to war with one another. Maybe me and Bo are friends, but he's got 3,000 MREs and I got 0. Either, hey bro, toss me an MRE, or I have to figure out another way to get some food, right? So when resources are scarce, people go to war. When there's no agriculture, people get malnourished, and then plague starts to spread. So this famine, warfare, and plague is all tied to a lack of water. It's the root cause of it's all lack of water. The reason there's no water is because people are being disobedient. And then, typically, somewhere around 3.5 years in, people go, oh, shit, we weren't respecting God. We should probably apologize. That's called repentance. And then they do. And then he sees their hearts, and then it rains again, and the cycle of life continues. Water, which represents life, right? Water from an unknown source has to be filtered. That's beautiful water. Fast moving, clear. Like when it comes to picking a water source out in the wild, that's great. I guarantee you there are protozoa in that water that my physiology is not familiar with, which means I will have the shits in 24 to 36 hours. Okay? JW is probably in tune to that. The rest of us aren't from here. So water from an unknown source has to be purified. Metaphorically, water from an unknown source has to be passed through a filter so that it doesn't make you sick. So you need to know what your filters look like when you're processing life-giving water. Filter here in your prefrontal cortex, and your filter here, your relationship with the Most High. It's only life-giving water if it doesn't make you sick. So be careful whose water you drink. If we think about Messiah and the Word, we're almost always seeing him with water. The woman at the well, caught in adultery. Bring me your husband. I don't have a husband. You're right. You've had 5 of them, and the man you're with now isn't your husband. It's excluded from the King James Version, but she said, oh, shit. Yeah, King Jimmy didn't like that part, so they scratched that one out. Could you imagine? And she runs into town, Shomer own Samaria, and she says, I've met the Messiah. He told me the man I'm with isn't my husband. Everybody in Samaria knew that the man that she was with wasn't her husband. The wedding feast, Cana, water into wine. The storm at Galilee, calm in the storm. Peter, walking on water. It was Peter's idea, by the way. Go back and reread that. It was Peter's idea. And as long as he kept his eyes on Messiah, he was good. But when he took his eyes off who it was that made it possible for him to walk on water, made it possible for him to navigate, he sunk. And he cried out for help. Jonah and the whale. You guys familiar with that? Reread Jonah. Jonah died. That's why Messiah says, the Son of Man will give you no sign but the sign of the prophet Jonah. So the Pharisees should have known that he would have resurrected 3 days later. Because in Jonah chapter 2, Jonah talks about how he had seen Sheol, the place of the dead. And the Father plucked him from the place of the dead and put him into the belly of the whale. Jonah died. Jonah died because he disrespected the water. He was on a mission from Dad and he was being disobedient. Yah's will was still done. Giant fish swallows up Jonah, pukes him out on the shore of Nineveh. You know why Jonah was pissed off? Nineveh is the capital of the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrians were a bunch of pagan assholes who had been oppressing Judea for centuries. Jonah was from the tribe of Judah. He's like, my own people won't listen to me, and you send me all the way over here. I got to go preach the word of God to these people? Be like, God telling me to go to Washington, D.C. I need you to go to D.C. and preach the word at the White House. Absolutely not. No way. Cool. Well, I'm going to kill you in the sea and make a giant fish puke you out in the swamp. Okay? So we got to be careful with water. Water goes all the way back to the garden. Many teaching there. Adam, which means man, was made in the wilderness. Adam was made in this, from the earth. And the Father took dirt, and he breathed into it air, Ruach, breath of life, and that made man. And then he took Adam into the garden. And Eve was made in the garden. Adam is from out here. That's why most men look at these mountains and go, hell yeah, I could get up that. We might be completely lying to ourselves, but we think, hell yeah, I could do that. That's badass. Let's go. And women are like, that shit's crazy. No, you cannot. Don't do that. You're retarded. Generally speaking, women are good at the nurturing part of it. Once the seed's in the ground, I will tend it and water it and make it grow and tend the fruit of it. The men are like, hey, let me out into the wilderness where the monsters are. I want to go kill monsters. Because we came from where the monsters are. And women were made inside of the fence of the garden. Broad brushstrokes. In the garden, Psalm 145, Ma'im, water. King David talks about how water represents kingship and dominion. And that's exactly what we were made for. That's the ideal state of man and woman in union with the Most High, is to rule and subdue. That's what we were made for. In order to live up to the Father's expectation of what we were made for, to be kings and priests, to rule and subdue, we have to be able to appropriately interact with air, with dirt, with water, with fire, all of which is in a balance. If we don't balance those things, any one of them could kill us. It goes back to meekness. Having a weapon, knowing how to use it, and knowing when to use it. So, introspection questions for y'all. We good?
Yeah.
What positive interactions with water have you had? What negative interactions with water have you had? How has water hurt you? How has water healed you? When was the last time you disrespected water? When was the last time you respected water? And what are you holding on to that needs to die in the water? That's water.
Thank you, TJ.
You're welcome.
Well done.